There's talk of the tournament and changes potentially. Obviously, the attendance was through the roof and record-breaking, viewership record-breaking.
Right.
You've played at home the last couple of years. You've won and you've lost.
Sure.
Do you think it's the right format, having top 16 host, knowing that you've seen both sides of it in a way?
Selfishly, I'm going to say yeah. I really there's something about, it's just a goal of ours every year is to want to be able to host and play in front of our crowd. And I think a lot of that has to do with Doug. We've been building this thing, and part of the build has been because of our fans. And so it's always been important for us to have that as a goal, but it's for us, but it's also for Hoosier Nation to be able to come and watch us and support us. I do think that there is an advantage. There's no doubt about it. But for us right now, a program that's drawing a crowd like we do, I think it's really good for our game as we continue to try to grow it.
Yes, right here.
Yeah, Chloe Peterson, Indy Star. Coach, obviously you guys have a tall task in Camila Cardoso, who's 4 inches taller than Mackenzie. Just what's your game plan for her, or how are you going to try to limit her?
Well, it's just not her. I mean, it's, they're, like I said, they're loaded with talent. But, I think you try to crowd her. You're not going to keep her from scoring. She's too talented for that, and this is too good of a basketball team. They intentionally find ways to get her the ball. And so I think you have to try to do your work early and try to keep her away from the rim as well as you can. But I also think it requires help from others, whether that's doubling, digging, just trying to crowd her as well as we can.
Hey, Teri, Chantel Jennings
Hi.
with The Athletic. South Carolina is obviously a very good team, but specifically in the first half, they have an ability to jump out first and
Right.
build that momentum. Is it just about stringing together stops on the defensive end? How do you stem that?
I think it's both. I think you have to string together stops, but I also think you have to score. We're not unlike any team in the country that really feeds, our offense feeds us defensively. And so when we can put points on the board, that helps us, on the defensive side with our, not just our intensity, but I think, the connectedness that you have to play with in order to guard a team like South Carolina that has so many threats, on the outside. So I do think you got to string together some stops, but you certainly got to put points on the board too, or he can get away from you really quick.
Coach Moren, Mike Vogel from
Hi, Mike.
ESPN.com. You talked about, obviously, you come into a game like this, at least from the outside, you guys are the underdog here
Sure.
against the undefeated team. Can you use that to your advantage at all going into a game like this? Because you don't have a lot of those games anymore because you guys are such a good program that it is a little bit like a little different mindset sometimes going against a team that hasn't lost.
As I said to our kids, I think, yes, we're the underdog, but I think everybody else except for South Carolina right now is the underdog, because of their perfect record. I don't know that anybody believes that South Carolina can be beat. So, you can certainly use that. Like I said, our kids, as I mentioned earlier, they read, they know that we are not expected perhaps to win this game, but does that fuel them? I hope it does. I hope it motivates them. I do think there is an aspect of that you can use it to your advantage. You're playing with house money. You have nothing to lose. And I just want our kids to come in and play loose and together, which they have throughout the season. And again, just put forward our best effort because we know it's going to take a great effort.
Hi, over here. I just want to ask a question about one of your players, Yarden Garzone. I thought I read last year you said in 30-plus years of coaching, she's the most mature first-year player you'd ever seen. I'd like you to talk to that a little bit now that we're at the late end of the second year and given so much that's happened off the court for her,
Right.
what she's like as a person and how she's developed, and also what her potential and development are player-wise.
Well, first of all, she is that. She is uber mature. She has had a, difficult, when I say difficult, it's been a tough year for Yarden with everything that's going on over in Israel right now, and it's continued to go on. And so she has continued to show great maturity. Her parents have been over to Bloomington a few times, I think, to offer their support because she knows how hard it's been. They know how hard it's been on Yarden, but she is competitive. She is still, I think, getting used to the work that's required at this level. Not that she doesn't work, when she plays at home in Israel, but the practices are a little bit longer in duration. Strength and conditioning, all of that's different. Everything that we have over here that they might have over there, but not to the extent that we have. And so the training for her has been something that she's had to get used to. She's continued to improve for us. We talk a lot about Mackenzie in the last game, but we had other kids that stepped up, but Yarden probably hit the biggest shot to give us the room to put us up by 4 there going down the stretch. She is made for moments like that. She is not afraid of taking a big shot, and that's what I've always loved about her, and we've respected about Yarden. She's very quiet by nature. She's a great teammate. She's intelligent on and off the floor, understands the game. You can play her at 1 through 5, which makes it kind of fun for a coach. Terrific young lady. Great to have her, that we have her in our program. Somebody that's going to continue to improve and get better.
Yeah, Terry, Mike Nizick from
Mike.
the Herald Times. How are you? You played South Carolina in 2019. Only player for either roster still here is Mackenzie. But what's the through line with Dawn's teams that you see when you scouted her when you scouted South Carolina back then, and now? What do you kind of see as sort of the baseline of a South Carolina team under her?
Well, they're completely different than they were in 19. When we played them. What she's done is they've always been a very, very good defensive team. What they've added is shooters. When we played them in 19, I felt like we played off, really off the arc. Tried to bottle up Boston as well as we could. She's added some shooters from the outside. So that's been, to me, what's changed. But then now you look at some of the other pieces she's added. Fluwali, who just is incredible, dynamic, up and down the floor, fast, speed-wise. Cardoso obviously is a little bit bigger than Boston was. She's just added some shooters, which has made them more, even more difficult to guard because you really can't sit in the paint and try to, clog it up. You've got to respect those Bree Hall and Pow from the outside.
Have time for one more right here.
Coach, I don't want to really bring up any bad memory, but you talked about last year. So it was tough, emotionally tough. You guys won the Big Ten regular season, but every program as it grows goes through the heartbreaks and the good times. What do you think you as a coach and maybe the program, after you sort of process that, got from it in terms of then coming into this year and it didn't happen?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that question. It took us a while. That was a tough one to get over, especially how it ended. I think you have to remind yourself, and you got to remind your players that one game couldn't define the season that we had because it was incredible. And I think we were most heartbroken for Berger, because we couldn't get her, back to the Sweet 16. And so, I think the disappointment was there for her mostly. But, it certainly fueled this group. Sid's talked about it. Mackenzie's talked about it, that last game, not wanting it to end like it did a year ago. And we knew that, everybody was going to have a little bit more experience. That was Sarah's first season in Bloomington and Sid's first season in Bloomington. So it was really a new team, although we had, the holdovers of Berger and Mackenzie. Yarden was a freshman. Chloe had to play. We moved her to a different position. So, The experience, though, as you mentioned, adversity gives you a lot. It's just not, about failure. It's about growth too. And so I thought our program, even though it was we did take another step, but I certainly think that the memory and of what happened a year ago really has helped us, going down the stretch with Oklahoma.
Coach, thank you
Yep,
very much.
thank you, guys.
Good luck.